Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We got to give a big shout out to LitRPG Reads and that fine fellow Paul Bello for sending this awesome article our way. We're diving deep today into How to Be a Better D&D Player. 5 Tips for Beginners by Emily Thorne. It was published just yesterday, November 23rd, 2024, and it really got me thinking about a recent game I was in. You see, our party was exploring this creepy ancient tomb, right? We were doing pretty well, fighting off giant spiders and deciphering cryptic riddles. But then we came to this massive stone door.
Oh, boy.
Naturally, we assumed there was some grand puzzle or epic boss fight waiting on the other side. We spent almost an hour trying to find hidden levers, testing different combinations of runes, even trying to bash the door down with a battering ram.
Wow.
Turns out we completely missed a tiny inscription on the door jamb. It was written in a language we hadn't bothered to translate, and it simply said, "Push." We could have opened the door the entire time. We had all this knowledge and experience, but we overthought it.
That's a fantastic example of how tunnel vision can really trip you up in D&D. You get so focused on finding the right solution that you miss the obvious one right in front of you.
It was a hilarious lesson in the importance of paying attention to detail and not getting stuck in your own assumptions. And that's where this article comes in. Emily Thorne isn't just talking about basic rules. She's emphasizing the mindset and approach that can elevate your game, whether you're a complete newbie or a seasoned veteran.
I agree. It's refreshing to see an article that goes beyond just explaining the mechanics and delves into the nuances of player interaction strategy and role-playing.
Okay, so let's unpack this article, starting with the first point, understanding the rules. I remember when I first started playing, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of acronyms and dice rolls.
That's a common experience. D&D does have a robust set of rules, and it can feel intimidating at first. But as Emily points out, those rules actually provide a framework for creativity, not a limitation.
The article makes a great point about prioritizing your learning. You don't need to memorize every rule in the player's handbook on day one. Start with the basics. Attack rolls, saving throws, skill checks, those core mechanics that drive every action in the game.
And what's fascinating is how those seemingly simple mechanics can lead to incredibly complex and dynamic scenarios. An attack roll isn't just about hitting or missing, it's about positioning tactics and the interplay between different abilities.
Right. For example, a fighter might use their second wind ability to regain hit points after taking a beating, allowing them to stay in the fight longer. Or a rogue might use their cunning action to disengage from an enemy and reposition themselves for a flanking attack. These are basic mechanics, but they add a layer of strategy and decision-making to every encounter.
And that's the beauty of mastering the fundamentals. It frees you to think more creatively about how to use those rules to your advantage. It's like learning the scales on a piano. Once you have that foundation, you can start composing beautiful melodies.
I love that analogy. So the core message here is that the rules aren't just a set of restrictions. They're the building blocks of a truly immersive and engaging experience. And the article also emphasizes that you don't have to learn everything at once.
Exactly. Start with your character's class-specific abilities and gradually expand your knowledge as you level up and encounter new challenges.
It's like learning a new language. You start with basic vocabulary and grammar, and then you build upon that foundation over time.
Precisely. And the more comfortable you become with the rules, the more freedom you have to experiment, improvise, and really bring your character to life.
Emily then moves on to a topic that's near and dear to every D&D player's heart. Building strong characters. This is where the real magic happens, right? You get to blend your imagination with the mechanics of the game to create a character that is both unique and effective.
It's a delicate balance of art and strategy. You want to create a character that is compelling and memorable, but also one that fits into the overall party dynamic and contributes to the group's success.
The article really emphasizes the importance of choosing a class that aligns with your playstyle. Do you want to be a valiant warrior on the front lines? A cunning rogue lurking in the shadows? A wise wizard wielding arcane power?
The beauty of D&D is that there's a class for every personality and playstyle, but it's also crucial to consider how your chosen class will interact with the other members of the party.
Yeah, you don't want to end up with a party of 5 rogues all trying to sneak attack the same goblin.
Exactly. Having a balanced party with a mix of combat prowess, spellcasting, and support abilities is key to success.
For example, a classic party composition might include a fighter to absorb damage on the front lines, a cleric to heal and buff the party, a wizard to unleash powerful spells, and a rogue to scout ahead and disarm traps.
This creates a synergy where each character's strengths complement the others, allowing the party to tackle a wider range of challenges.
And it's not just about the class. Emily also dives into the importance of background and ability scores.
These elements provide the foundation for your character's personality, motivations, and backstory. They're not just numbers on a sheet. They're the seeds from which a compelling narrative can grow.
I love how the article encourages players to think beyond the mechanical benefits of ability scores and consider how those scores might manifest in their character's personality and actions.
Right. A character with high strength might be a fearless warrior, but they might also be prone to impulsiveness or have a hard time controlling their anger. A character with high intelligence might be a brilliant strategist, but they might also be arrogant or dismissive of those they perceive as less intelligent.
It's about finding ways to weave those numbers into a compelling narrative, making your character feel like a real person with strengths, weaknesses, and a unique perspective on the world.
And this is where role-playing comes in. It's about stepping into the shoes of your character, embodying their personality, and making decisions based on their motivations and beliefs.
Emily gives some great tips on how to develop your character's voice, give them emotional depth, and even incorporate flaws and quirks that make them memorable.
And those flaws and quirks can often lead to the most hilarious and unexpected moments in a campaign.
Oh, absolutely. I once played a character who was incredibly brave in battle, but had a crippling fear of chickens.
A fear of chickens. Now that's an interesting quirk.
It started as a joke, but it ended up leading to some truly memorable moments.
Like that time our party was trapped in a burning barn and your character refused to leave because there were chickens running around in a panic?
Exactly. We had to come up with this elaborate plan to lure the chickens out with a trail of grain while I cowered behind a haystack convinced they were going to attack me. It was a hilarious disaster, but it made for a great story.
And that's what good role-playing is all about. It's about embracing those unexpected moments and finding ways to weave them into the narrative. It's about making your character feel like a real person with their own unique quirks and vulnerabilities.
And Emily brings up a point that's often overlooked: consistency in role-playing. It's
Yeah.
easy to fall into the trap of having your character act out of character just to advance the plot or get a laugh.
Right. But if your character is normally brave and suddenly acts cowardly for no reason, it breaks the immersion. It makes them feel less like a real person and more like a puppet being controlled by the player.
Consistency is key to creating a believable and engaging character. And it's not just about their personality. It's also about their motivations, their goals, and their relationships with the other characters.
And speaking of relationships, Emily's next point is all about engaging with your party. D&D is at its core a collaborative storytelling experience.
It's like weaving a tapestry together. Each player contributes their own thread, their own unique perspective to create something beautiful and intricate.
And just like weaving a tapestry, it requires communication coordination and a shared vision.
The article talks about the importance of communication, conflict resolution, and shared goals. These are essential elements of any successful team, whether it's a D&D party or a group of coworkers tackling a project.
Communication is key to avoiding misunderstandings and ensuring everyone is on the same page. Conflict resolution is essential for navigating disagreements and finding solutions that work for everyone. And shared goals give the party a sense of purpose and direction.
It's like that time our party was trying to infiltrate an enemy fortress. We had all these different ideas about how to approach it. Stealth, brute force diplomacy.
I bet that led to some interesting discussions.
Oh, it did. We argued, we debated, we almost came to blows. But in the end, we talked it through, compromised, and came up with a plan that incorporated elements of all our ideas. And you know what? It worked brilliantly.
That's a perfect example of how conflict, when handled constructively, can actually lead to more creative and effective solutions.
It's about respecting each other's opinions, actively listening to different perspectives, and being willing to compromise.
And that's a valuable skill to have both in D&D and in life.
Now, Emily also talks about the importance of strategic planning, especially when it comes to combat encounters. This is something I've learned the hard way. You can't just charge into battle and hope for the best.
Right. Coordinated tactics can make all the difference between a triumphant victory and a total party kill.
It's about leveraging each character's strengths, anticipating enemy tactics, and working together to execute a plan.
Think of it like a well-choreographed dance. Each player has their own role to play their own moves to execute, and when everyone is in sync, it's a beautiful thing to behold.
It's about being mindful of your surroundings, considering the consequences of your actions, and making decisions that benefit the group as a whole.
And this leads us to Emily's next point, immersing yourself in the story. D&D is more than just rolling dice and fighting monsters. It's about stepping into a living, breathing world and experiencing it through the eyes of your character.
It's about engaging with the world, interacting with NPCs, and paying attention to the details that bring the story to life.
The article talks about the importance of treating the world as more than just a backdrop. It's a dynamic, ever-changing environment that reacts to your choices and actions.
It's like the difference between watching a movie and playing a video game. In a movie, you're a passive observer. In a video game, you're an active participant shaping the story with your decisions.
And in D&D, you have even more freedom to influence the narrative. You can talk to anyone, explore anything, and make choices that have real consequences.
The article encourages players to really lean into that sense of agency. Don't just follow the DM's lead. Ask questions, make suggestions, and come up with your own ideas.
Right. It's about being an active participant in the storytelling process, not just a passive consumer of content.
And that brings us to one of my favorite aspects of D&D, interacting with NPCs.
NPCs are more than just quest givers or sources of information. They're the lifeblood of the world, the characters who give it depth and personality.
Emily encourages players to treat NPCs as real people with their own motivations, goals, and backstories. Don't just see them as tools to be used or obstacles to be overcome. Get to know them, understand their perspectives, and build relationships with them.
You never know what kind of unexpected alliances or betrayals might arise from those interactions.
And sometimes the most memorable moments in a campaign come from those seemingly insignificant encounters with NPCs.
Like that time our party befriended a grumpy old bartender who ended up being a retired adventurer with a secret stash of magical artifacts.
Exactly. We would have missed out on that entire side quest if we hadn't taken the time to chat with him and learn about his past.
It's a reminder that even the smallest interactions can have a ripple effect on the story. And it's those unexpected moments that make D&D so much fun.
Now, Emily's final point is about contributing to the table. It's about being a mindful and supportive member of the gaming group, both in and out of character.
It's about recognizing that everyone is there to have fun and create a shared story. And it's about creating a positive and inclusive environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and contributing to the game.
The article talks about the importance of active listening, supportive play, respect for boundaries, and balanced participation. These are all essential elements of good table etiquette.
It's about avoiding that guy syndrome, you know? The player who hogs the spotlight, disregards others' contributions, or constantly derails the game with off-topic tangents.
We all know that guy.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be that guy.
Right. It's about being mindful of how your actions and words affect others and creating a space where everyone feels valued and respected.
The article also talks about supporting other players. It's not a competition. We're all in this together.
Exactly. It's about celebrating each other's successes, offering encouragement when things get tough, and generally creating a positive and supportive environment.
Something I found helpful is actively looking for ways to incorporate other players' characters into my own actions. Like if another player is struggling to find a way to use their skills in a particular scenario, I might try to create an opening for them or suggest a way they could get involved.
That's a great example of supportive play in action. It's about being aware of the other player's goals and motivations and finding ways to help them shine. It creates a sense of camaraderie and makes everyone feel like their contributions are valued.
And speaking of contributions, Emily's article concludes with a section on improving through feedback. This is something I'm particularly passionate about.
Feedback can be such a powerful tool for growth, but it can also be a bit daunting to receive, especially if it's critical.
I've definitely been in situations where feedback felt more like an attack than a helpful suggestion.
That's why it's so important to approach feedback with an open mind and a willingness to learn. It's not about being perfect or proving yourself right. It's about recognizing that we all have areas where we can improve.
The article does a great job of outlining different types of feedback, from DM notes to party suggestions to self-reflection. It's interesting how feedback can come from a variety of sources. It's not just about the DM dictating what you did right or wrong. It's about having an open dialogue with the entire group and being receptive to different perspectives.
And it's not just about identifying weaknesses, it's also about recognizing your strengths and celebrating your successes. Positive reinforcement can be just as motivating as constructive criticism.
Absolutely. I had an experience early on in my D&D journey where I was struggling to portray my character's emotional depth. I was so focused on the tactical aspects of the game that my role-playing felt a bit flat. After one particular session, a fellow player pulled me aside and gave me some really thoughtful feedback. They pointed out that my character had this really tragic backstory, but I wasn't letting those emotions come through in my role-playing. They suggested I think about how those past experiences might still be affecting my character's actions and decisions, and how that might manifest in their interactions with others.
That sounds like incredibly insightful and supportive feedback.
It was a game changer, honestly. It helped me see my character in a whole new light and pushed me to develop their emotional depth in ways I hadn't even considered before. It was a reminder that feedback, when given and received constructively, can be an incredibly powerful tool for growth.
It's not about tearing someone down, it's about helping them reach their full potential. And I love how your fellow player framed their feedback as a suggestion rather than a criticism. It created a safe space for you to receive that information and use it to improve your game.
Absolutely. And the article makes a great point about setting goals for improvement and approaching feedback with an open mind. It's a continuous process of learning and growing, and embracing that journey is part of what makes D&D so rewarding.
It's about recognizing that we're all students of the game, regardless of our experience level. There's always something new, to learn a new skill, to master a new perspective, to consider.
So we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Emily Thorne's article on becoming a better D&D player. We've explored everything from understanding the rules and building strong characters, to fostering positive party dynamics, immersing ourselves in the story, and embracing feedback as a tool for growth. What does this all mean for our listeners who are eager to level up their D&D game?
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that becoming a better D&D player is a holistic endeavor. It's not just about mastering one specific aspect of the game. It's about developing a comprehensive understanding of how all the pieces fit together. It's about embracing the collaborative nature of the game and recognizing that our individual growth contributes to the overall success and enjoyment of the campaign.
It's not just about winning or achieving specific goals. It's about creating a shared experience that is both meaningful and memorable. It's about fostering a sense of community, celebrating creativity, and embracing the joy of collaborative storytelling.
And as with any skill, it takes time, practice, and a willingness to learn and adapt. But the rewards are well worth the effort. When you invest in becoming a better D&D player, you not only enhance your own enjoyment of the game, but you also create a richer and more rewarding experience for everyone at the table.
Well said. Before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to give another shout out to LitRPG Reads and that fine fellow Paul Bello for inspiring this episode. Emily Thorne's article has given us so much to think about, and I hope our listeners have found this conversation as insightful and engaging as we have.
I've thoroughly enjoyed exploring these concepts with you, and I'm sure our listeners have gleaned valuable insights to enhance their own D&D experiences.
Now, before we sign off, we want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Emily Thorne talks about how a player's individual growth can contribute to the overall success and enjoyment of a D&D campaign. So we want to hear from you. How do you think personal growth as a D&D player impacts the game as a whole?
Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear your perspectives and continue this conversation.
You know, it's funny how this whole conversation has come full circle. We started by talking about my own epic fail with that trapdoor. And now we're discussing how personal growth can actually lead to a more successful and enjoyable campaign for everyone.
It's a testament to the interconnected nature of D&D. Every choice, every action, every moment of growth ripples outwards, affecting not only your own experience, but also the experiences of those around you.
And that's what makes D&D so special. It's more than just a game. It's a shared journey of exploration, creativity, and connection.
It's a space where we can challenge ourselves, learn new things, and forge lasting bonds with others who share our passion for storytelling and adventure.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. A huge thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the world of D&D.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are inspired to level up your own game.
Remember to check out LitRPG Reads for more amazing content. And a special thanks again to that fine fellow Paul Bello for the inspiration behind this episode.
Until next time, may your dice rolls be ever in your favor, and may your adventures be filled with laughter, excitement, and unforgettable moments on